the female sensuality is really rising and becoming a topic at the moment, at this time, in this year of 2016. And I'm happy to speak with you, dear Elsbeth Meuth, on the Sacred Expression Show, where we can have a beautiful creative conversation and co-create. And I hope, dear listener, that you get intrigued and pulled into I'm sensing already this vacuum, this spiral that has started. And it is funny, right, Elsbeth, with both two German ladies?
Yes. Yeah.
And we both were dressed in blue, independently. And so that already, and then you have the pink behind it, and I glow a little pink today. At least it looks on my screen this way. Is this femininity, and I think, that is already setting the tone for us, for what is going to come. I sense that. And Elsbeth, in the moment, there is a song that wants to come right at the beginning. There are a few tones that I love to sing, and whatever comes then after the song is for you to go on. That's what is coming right now. Okay, here we go.
This may be a beautiful moment to place your hands on your heart center in the middle of your chest and feel the reverberation of the sounds within ourselves and around us. This is the beauty of sound, that we can feel vibration when we start listening. And this is really what I want to bring to this conversation, is a deeper listening to ourselves. Thanks for this beautiful opening, Meilin.
You're so welcome.
Yes, and how I'm still feeling it, and how I was feeling when you were singing was like the vibration was moving through me. You spoke about that, pulling into the vortex, or you called it sucking in. It's like there is energy that is, spiraling. And actually there's energy within us.
Right.
That's spiraling all the time. I mean, it's part of our wiring, and it has to do with that life force energy that has brought us into this life. And particularly focusing today on that feminine energy that I call feminine essence, and awaken to our feminine essence.
Yes.
So, may I continue sharing, or would you like to say something?
Yeah, please, because I do know there's a long story how we met, and I think over time people will get to know so much more about you. But I think now go ahead, and as my listeners know, we live so in the moment, what comes up. So if the words come up to be spoken, let them be spoken. So yes, please tell about your course and your feminine essence and what you're bringing into the world with it, because it's majestic. It's really majestic work, everyone. This woman is set out on a path to support the world, and that's what I find. And she's so humble and beautiful at the same time, and I just love that about you, Elsbeth.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm going to share a little bit about myself, how I came to, being even here and speaking about all of this with you and the listeners. So 17 years ago, I was pretty desperate and despaired. Now, not in my professional work. I had quite accelerated as a management consultant, was traveling the world. However, I was miserable in relationship. I had this pattern of attracting unavailable men, and I was very much longing for lasting love.
Yeah.
I had no clue how to go about it, and so at that time I put myself on a path because I didn't want to tolerate it any longer. And so that was the time when I learned about my energy, which I hadn't really paid attention to before. I was more in my head, and I was more externally oriented, to make it in the world, and was very much in my masculine, or we could also call it yang energy, driven. And now that got me places, and not to throw this out with the bathwater, that serves us as women in many, many ways, also to participate in the marketplace, where we need a kind of yang, masculine energy. However, I had forgotten about that inner resource that is actually present all the time. And that has to do with my feminine, alive, vital, sexual energy. Life force energy is sexual in nature. Of course, it can show up in many different ways. Like right now, it shows up in a subtle way for all of us. Listening, speaking. Life force energy runs through us until we die. It brings us into the world, and then with the last breath, it subsides. And then, of course, our physical body disintegrates, and our spirit, our frequency, remains in a different form. So I started to listen to that energy. And for me, it was through the practice of Tantra, which is an East Indian practice. And in that practice, what I discovered was that I held distrust in my feminine center, distrust towards men, and at some point in my life, and I was 18 years old, and I had intercourse for the first time with my first boyfriend. I was very much in love with him. And it was not forced on me, however, it was very painful. And then I had to go to the gynecologist, and the gynecologist took care of the hymen that hadn't fully opened up. And then the bill from the gynecologist went home to my house, and my father opened it, and all hell broke loose. Okay. So I felt so alone and misunderstood. Now, given the way my father grew up and was raised, no wonder that he didn't know how to be with a young budding daughter. However, back then I couldn't see that. I just felt like he was against me, the boyfriend was against me, and the gynecologist too, although he just did his job. But for me, it showed up like, men are never there when you really need them. And that was like this nanosecond decision I made that really followed me into my adult life. discovering that decision that was so buried, connected. Actually, the decision was discovered by connecting with my feminine center. The feminine center in Sanskrit is called yoni, which means sacred space. Wow, just imagine if you had been taught or introduced to your feminine center as a sacred space. I mean, I would have been with myself in a very different way, honoring, cherishing, and so forth. So that was the opening for me. And then within 6 months, I left management consulting.
Oh.
My beloved came into my life, and I could recognize him. And you, Meilin, you know him.
Yes, fascinating. Funny man, and charisma. It just oozes out of him, yes.
And so there's just something else that I would like to share. So I was very set on finding a partner. I had my profile up. Freddie Santal and I, we are like, early online dating and couples. Like at that time, like 16 years ago, it was not fashionable yet. But so anyway, we found each other on the internet, and I was very set on finding someone who, would be very interested in the tantric practice, or at least, or would have had practiced it, be in the practice already. So when he wrote me a second email, he said, yeah, and I grew up in a tantric household. Wow.
Yeah, you set a straight focus intention, didn't you?
Totally. And so just to complete like my history here, again, how I come to be sitting here with you today, is then that Freddie Santal and I, we decided to leave our corporate jobs, pool our resources, and create Tantra Nova, which is the institute that we have in Chicago, and we teach all over the world. Mm-hmm. And that is also in that context, I created the Feminine Awakening work that I'm so thrilled to share more about.
Yes, it's going to come. I know. Yeah, and it is, I just came back, I met you at Liana Chauli's event, and there it is also about imaging. It's the image really of ourselves, how we show ourselves as women to the world, and that is supported through clothing. And what is fascinating there, right, we can put clothes on and live a life we feel awkward until we see an image of ourselves also within inside, and then we can walk the image, or the image is really our essence. And so it is really going more into the feminine. She also brings us, I always see her like a divine mother, right? Bringing us into our essence and becoming in all facets of ourselves. In all facets.
Yes.
This sensual, I call it full woman. Yeah, the fullness, that we walk with fullness, we stand. And for me, I'm more of a physical woman, and especially through my physical channel, I'm very connected to the bodies. And what is interesting, and you don't know so much about it, but over my years in workshop, what has come out and is that so many body parts, and that's what I want to speak with you later as well, that, it's the body parts we have neglected. You probably know a lot through the Tantra practice, and please tell us then a little bit what to observe or where to look so it can open up more. I do it a little bit through channeling, for example, the breast. So, I said, women, hold your breasts in your hands once in a while, or even channeling the pubic hair. And everyone, Elsbeth and I are German. It's really funny, we're speaking English, but life brought us both to America to learn about the new vibrations of the new world and connect us to the wisdom of the US and the greater Americas. And it is interesting, right? We're bringing that also slowly back. And I get back to the pubic hair. So, for example, in German it's called Schamhaar. And in English it is more scientific name, it's pubic hair. But in German it puts shame. It's like shame hair. And it really influences already us as tiny little girls. You know, when you suddenly 10, 11, 12 and your pubic hair starts growing, and already what kind of word we're using. Yeah, that influences how we fill in the space with our body. Right?
Yes.
And I had what was really funny one day. I channeled, and suddenly the pubic hair said it wants to be channeled for a woman. And then it told me it wants to have a new, different word, a different vocabulary. And I think
Yes.
that is one of the big things. How can we give it new meaning, a new sensation, our body, and how we express ourselves, so we can shift, right? So how can we shift? So what do you bring us? Are you going to bring it us to the world, these feminine essence? But what do you sense it is shifting now, and what is it shifting in the future? Because I know you feel the future already.
I do.
Yeah.
You know, something curious occurred recently. I was invited to this 2016 United Women's Summit in Washington by the White House.
Congratulations.
And both, yeah, you know about it. And both Barack Obama and Michelle Obama were there, and our Vice President Joe Biden. And when Obama spoke, he spoke of all kinds of arenas, all about women, equity, and equality. That was the theme of the summit. He also spoke about the sexual. And he said it's time for women to express themselves sexually freely. This is no longer a prerogative of men, you know, lauding the male prowess and the harems and the, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, I am at the right time, at the right place here. I don't just mean the summit. I mean in the world, where now the work I've been doing really, you know, can support women and men, for that matter, to connect with that life force energy. You know, sexual expression has to do with being aware of and expressing our life force energy. And without that energy, we wouldn't be here, you know?
No.
So, but none of us had a course in high school or gymnasium or college about human energy. I mean, I learned about nuclear energy, electrical energy, thermal energy in physics class, but I never learned about myself and the energy that runs through me all the time. So life force energy emanates from the base of the spine and moves up in a serpentine way to the top of the head and then back down again. It's like the DNA. Yeah? Mm-hmm. In Sanskrit, it's called Kundalini. Kundalini is like raw energy, like the lightning in the sky before it's, you know, channeled or funneled into electricity. And we can channel and funnel our life force energy. So, of course, that requires learning how to do it and then to practice it. And feminine life force energy is different than masculine life force energy. It has something to do also with hormones. So feminine energy is circular, is round, is capricious, and then when it shows up in an aroused state or coming, you know, we never know if it gets aroused or not. It's very, you know, just like this. Unlike masculine life force energy or sexual energy, which is linear, it's directional, very predictable. Yeah. So there are two different opportunities and challenges for men and women. For women, we speak about reawakening to our energy, to that feminine, glow, and to that aliveness.
Yeah.
Because for us, for many of us, it may have gotten stuffed down, or some women had sexual abuse. There was a huge erosion of trust. How could you ever trust again with your yoni, your sacred space? Could trust another if something like that happened. So then that needs to be cleared in order to connect with that vibrant life force energy. I didn't get sexually abused, but this experience I spoke about earlier when I was 18 years old, I didn't even know until I actually explored into it how much that had molded the way I looked into the world, the way I related to men, what I invited into my life, my suffering over love and, creating love or bringing love into my life. So, and some women are very connected with their life force energy. I'm just working with a woman. She's very connected with her sexual energy to an extent that she wants to learn to channel it, a little bit like it is for men. The opportunity for them is to learn, when the energy comes up, to circulate it instead ejecting it.
Yeah, and then it's out and they get tired. Instead of using it, what are the tricks of the trade? And that's the right one. But what are the little, what to become aware or acknowledge and in moving energy into a different spot or feeling how it moves, right?
Yes. Right. And you alluded to something earlier, that the becoming aware of different parts of our body. The body is not just a thing, a component. It's all, connected through blood flow, all connected through a nervous system. And we can consider the nervous system, comparing it to the blood flow, the arteries and the veins. And the nervous system is like our electrical system, the wiring. And so we can move the energy once we have identified it. It's not only just moving through us, we can actually affect the moving of that energy. So for example, when I get very anxious or upset or worry, what I do is I take a deep breath in, all the way down into my belly, into my pelvic floor, and then breathe up again. And breathe down again. And just with that subtle movement of energy that, of course, goes only with the breath. When I don't breathe, there's no energy flow. We can see this, when we don't breathe, we die. The energy goes, ultimately. Or I can also apply that in an aroused state, because then I can move up that orgasmic, luscious, wonderful energy throughout my whole being, both to imbue my physical body and also my emotional and my spiritual body. Mm-hmm. And I even use that practice to imbue my projects.
Yeah,
I bet. Yeah, so for example, when we were writing our book, Sexual Enlightenment, there were
look, I even have a copy here. I was able to read it here, everyone. It's the easiest. That's a good thing with video. I'm gonna post a picture of it and put the title later.
So, there were times when I had writer's block. I just, had these self-doubts, who's going to read this book? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't have anything to say. And, so when I, dropped into that space, which is not very useful to creating, I left my computer and had we call it a self-love practice, where I connect with my energy, where I breathe up the energy from the pelvic floor, from my yoni center, up into my heart center, all the way up into my third eye, and back down again. And that energy, that life force energy that is sexual in nature, has two ingredients. One is pleasure, and the other one is creativity. Creativity brings forth life, so it's most potent. So what about using this for creating my life?
Yes,
enjoying
yes.
my writing, And so it really was a recalibration. I completed the practice and went back and had a conversation with Freddie. My mind was open, and not that I knew what the next sentence was, but there was a different state of being that allowed me to create again.
It is what it happens is really it raises. There's so many different stages of frequencies, so and we can drop up and down, right? But and many of us have lost the access into the higher frequencies, because the higher frequencies really is our natural state. So you're speaking really what you feel is so beautiful is our natural state. So we're all able to get there. So it's nothing that is out there and you have to practice for hours and days. No, it is not. First of all, if you decide to do it, everyone, right? It comes to you, and it raises the frequencies, and so many more things can be done if we come and move into different frequencies in those levels. And you were showing that. I was watching you. Your whole body showed it visually to us. And that is what is so magical. That's why suddenly, and when we're in this frequency, we connect to the one mind. We connect to everything around us, and then it you know what is needed, and then you become creative, right? Those are then the moments where you say, it's like, that's familiar to me.
Yes.
And there's no fear, and we can move forward.
Yeah, beautiful. Because it's really the state we come into this world with. Like when we look at an infant, they have no constrictions. The spine is totally flexible. They don't get lost in emotions. The baby may be hungry and then screaming, and then gets the breast or the bottle, falls asleep, wakes up, looks at the mobile, and smiles at you. And it doesn't go back and say, wow, my mom didn't take care of me earlier. She's a bad mom. Now I'm angry. It's not like flowing in and out of crying into smiling, into being present in their own way, into eating. They are all fluid, these stages. And when we grow up, what we appropriate is that I call it like a compartmentalization, where we don't trust anymore, or we become resentful because we didn't get what we wanted. It has something to do with the development of the brain and the mind, all of it, because a baby is not self-reflected or self-reflective in that way. But the point I want to make here is, just as you pointed out, that is our natural state. Yes. I like to call it's our original state, and we can tap back into this. And of course, just what you also alluded to, like these different levels of frequency, is that, let's say, I held a lot of disappointment and like despair over relationship or not being able to have love in my life at some point earlier. There was a lot of sadness, a lot of constriction. I didn't know that at that time, but often, depression resides in the heart center. Not only, but so I needed to work through that. I needed to open up to my vulnerability and to feeling, when I, like that disappointment when I was 18 years old, because that gets stuck somehow. and probably there was something earlier in my childhood. We don't necessarily have to go back to the very, very beginning incident, but when we can tap into something that really, is connected to what has us, can open up. And then when we clear the different dimensions, what opens up is the flow through the channel. It's like a channel that goes through us. Mm-hmm. And then I want to go back to what you said earlier around die Schamhaare, the shame hair around the pubic bone, that we have our sexual being so separate from our spiritual being that we are so dichotomized. Yeah. However, one wouldn't be present without the other. I wouldn't be human if I wasn't a sexual being and a spiritual being.
Correct.
And so then the vibration, the grounded energy from my first center and my second center, or the second center is the sexual center, I can use this to imbue, the higher frequencies within me. So there's no shame, there's no guilt, there is no regret. It is just, I'm just in the flow, in the circulation of that energy. And I can connect with the sky, I can connect with the earth. And so it's like yin and yang.
Yeah, it is. I often speak about, we're connected to the earth. So that if this is us, we're connected to the earth, right? But we also have channels that go up into the sky, into other realities. And we have also our energetical circuit in a way. And so they come together in our body, and that's where there is this, for one thing, we would be a pancake if that wouldn't be, right? We would be flat on this earth. But we have these two pools and then our own. And because they come together and as we two do now, co-create, there's an explosion. And this explosion, or this vibrancy and these fireworks, that is what makes us then sparkle and move and experience the sexuality or sensuality and the connection to everything. And even the sexuality brings us there. There's so many cultures that allude to it, and old cultures, right? They have lived that, and luckily there's still cultures that do live that now. Germany is not one, even though there are a lot of freedom fighters to be naked since the last 100 years or more. At least to show our body, there's not so much restriction in the US, that we are not afraid or to show ourselves. But then if you go behind that, I think even in Germany there is still enough of this shame or these the traumas. If I think just back in mine, we girls never spoke about anything. It was interesting now, just in beginning of this week, my son, he just turned 10, and he in the Grundschule, in elementary school, they had 4 hours explaining what is coming to them with the change of hormones. And it's interesting because there's some that are a year older and younger, and I thought, wow, look at that. And they separated so the boys could speak comfortably about it and the girls. And I thought, 4 hours, school hours, yeah, but still it's almost 4 hours. And I thought, how times have changed.
Yes.
Yeah, and that there is this interest, so children are not surprised what is coming, and may not be afraid, and they may get the ideas from television, which is a little screwed anyway. We see more violence there than anything sensual or sexual, the media, and it's a whole different, another big story. So I love, also for me, that's what I'm gonna delve into more this year, supporting people, not just women. I've noticed also, Elsbeth, because it became very clear. I had once a workshop, and how it is in life, it was only men. But what they wanted to have channeled, it was their chest and their back. That's what wanted to grow and have attention, and they were from different cultures and a bit different body types, and spiritually we're connected to different wisdom of this world, lands of this world. And it really made an impact in me, and I said, wow, it's just a chest, but even then they can't open up. So if men have also difficulty, even though, as you mentioned at the beginning, we think, or they're shown as they're walking into the world, it's in a way a little bit of a facade, because it's not really them anymore. So something has been molded, an artificial image has been molded. So I think your work is fascinating. It's really you dissembling this artificial image of us women, with your beautiful work that you got honored for at the Women's Summit in DC.
Yes.
And bringing this feminine essence. What is our essence? So how, if you would say essence, because essence is a beautiful word, I love it. I can use it too, because every person is filled with essences and different things. But for you, for you, Elsbeth, what is essence?
Yes, I've been looking at, the wording, how to articulate what this offer is, what this opportunity is for us women. And it's not feminine power, and it's related to it.
Mm-hmm.
But power is like very preoccupied with the masculine. The word power is something that has a masculine. And how I look at it, how I hold it, is that for women, it's to come to reconnect with their strength. The strength of women, is just of that feminine. And why I call it essence has to do with that it's more subtle. It's not right in your face, and there's a listening that women bring to the world that men don't, and that's not good or bad. It has something to do with how we are with our disposition. Our brains actually work differently. They are left and right side of the brain is much more interactive in women than in men. Mm-hmm. This is why men have a hard time, when a woman starts crying, and then the next moment she may say, oh, let's do something great now. So switching from one emotional state to another is really not understandable to a man. You're like, what can I do? Why is she crying? Want to fix her, And because men are not taught to connect with their delicate emotions. When they express their emotions, it's, Freddie always says, on the battlefield, when they have fought together, or on, in athletics, where they hug each other and pat on each other's butt, or kiss each other even. When you see these big guys, that's the moment when they can feel an emotion. But otherwise, and that's what you said about the heart opening for men, that is really what's up, for in our world. It's in not any particular country. So we always say that, when a man wants to connect with a woman or with a beloved, it could be two men, he starts feeling that wish, that wanting in his sexual center. Most women, when they want to connect, they start feeling it in their heart center. So we both want to connect. We want the same, but the locus of where we start is different. So I'm looking for this, and he's looking for that. Like two ships passing in the night. And in the tantric practice, men learn how to move up their wonderful, masculine, powerful energy into their heart center, to open their heart, to imbue their heart, to connect with that love energy. Once they are connected there, it's easy for them to connect to the woman's heart. It's just a natural consequence. Now, once my heart is open, my yoni opens. So it's just the opposite way. So, I'm just, so passionate about supporting women in connecting their heart with their life force energy, their feminine essence. So I look at the yoni center. This is where our feminine essence arises. And if we have shame, guilt, and fear there, guess what? That energy cannot bloom. So the opportunity is to open that space up and connect with. And the outcomes can be, many kind. Like some women just really connect with their pleasure in a way they never have connected with, or a sense of freedom. Others, they shift their careers because it's like that's creative energy, and then no, wait a minute, that's no longer where my passion is. Yeah. So, including myself, Tantra Nova is an outcome of me clearing my sexual energy, my life force energy, like with the distrust and all what was there, and then creative energy becomes available, and I channeled it into creating a company that now serves women and men all over the world. And in particular, in our conversation here, I just also want to share that I teach this step by step in an upcoming program, an online program, so nobody even has to travel here to the United States.
Yeah, that's practical.
Yes, it's a 5-week course that really takes women through a step-by-step approach to connect with their feminine energy, to learn to channel their energy, to clear whatever may be there, so that she can come to fuller aliveness, vibrancy in the physical body, in the emotional body, the heart, and the mental and spiritual being. And really the shift that I intend to support women in is shifting from dissatisfaction or struggle in whatever the area may be in their life, relationship, body, career, whatever it may be, because it's a universal energy that then just flows into whatever area we would like to rejuvenate, to come to a new place and live our life from a place of passion, joy, and fulfillment.
Beautiful. I can't say anything. It's exactly that, Once we live our body fully, we live our truth, our wisdom, those words, my words, then it is like always this explosion, and it becomes very easy to follow. There is no resistance, there is no density, and we just know. This is like this lightness to everything, but at the same time we are filling the whole body, like every cell is filled. And this is just a magical way to move through the world. And everyone who's listening today or viewing it in the future, I'm going to have with Elsbeth a Q&A in the next few weeks, where you can come in. It's probably going to be on Blab, and can ask Elsbeth questions or ask her to express a few things more. And then probably I'll let everyone also know about her program as I have more information, so you can connect to it and to support this beautiful mission that you start, going all over the world step by step, and empowering many of us women to live ourselves fully, and then inspire others, and then we can inspire. Because the most beautiful thing then is the mother is so present in a household, or the woman is present in a relationship, but in any household, even if she lives herself, it emanates out. But getting back to one point, there was it is how you act then or relate to a partner in your home, what vocabulary starts to be spoken, how a mother relates. Now I have a son, right? how I relate to my son. Do I express myself fully? Am I very honest and let my son be how he is and who he is? Because I've experienced often observing others or other families in my tighter family, where it's, oh, don't do that, you make men weak. Or, I remember with my husband when my mother-in-law said, or our father said, don't make him weak, Meilin. I said, because he was afraid I would make him soft, just with some shamanic ideas, or, just was barely nothing. But I had to go like this. I said, what did I just hear? And if you hear this sentence once or twice, and that you are not allowed to weakness suddenly gets said, oh, that is very feminine, we're not allowed to express, and then they don't even know anymore what is love, and especially then if the mother says things, they really get confused. But that's a whole other topic. We can talk for days.
We could delve into. Yes.
Yes. And it just came out when you were speaking.
To distinguish weakness from vulnerability.
Yeah.
Being from feeling. And there's also a generational shift occurring. Stepping further out of patriarchy allows us to actually come into, living in a world where we are in partnership like this, instead of like, one is up and one is down. Yes. And so the Dalai Lama said that the Western woman is going to save the world. And how I interpret this is that we women, there is a listening that we have already. I mean, the way we are built, the capacity to, conceive and bear children. There's a listening in our body, and we can further cultivate it, and a connection to our emotional self that is so essential for the dominant masculine world to tap into. Because aggression is not going to save the world, and we have plenty of it. So, in this way, I also see myself as a missionary into opening further into this feminine wisdom within women. And then also, Freddie always says the new man is in his balance of the feminine and masculine, or we could call it yin and yang, because it's not a male-female thing. And it may show up there as well, but, so anyway.
Yeah, I think that's right, but no, I'm a spiral girl. So it is these two spirals starting to dance together.
Yes.
And spiraling, yes. And then again co-creating.
Yeah.
And that's where we're going.
And within and together.
And without, it's amazing. Yes. Spirals, or in the ground and up, and also this direction, right? This direction. Yes. Maybe you forget. It's how we move forwards or backwards. It gets fascinating. Yeah. This is beautiful, the conversation, Elsbeth, and I think that was just a beautiful way with this dance, and I invite everyone to delve in to listening, as Elsbeth said, listen to yourself, to your body, listen to your vocabulary. Do you feel comfortable within that? And if not, why? And be courageous to look at yourself or to listen to yourself, how your body moves, how you feel when you move the body, how you feel when you say something, how you feel when you're together with people. And I invite you to be courageous to move. If you don't like it, move out of it. Become curious and move into another direction, right? What would you say? Would you agree, Elsbeth?
Totally, yes. That listening that you speak to this is where it all begins. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I just walk around, with the same blindness. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Meilin.
Oh, thank you, Elsbeth, for speaking with me and speaking to the world and opening up yourself because I think that is very courageous. You're also very in tune with yourself to just say, here I come, here I go, whatever happens, happens. Wherever I'm led, I go, or where I lead myself, really, right? And I'm curious myself what's going to happen, and that the vibrations are so fast, time moves so quickly nowadays. So I'm going to observe my eyes on you and see what's going to come up, and I'll see you anyway in a few weeks. And with everyone who's watching today or listening later to an audio on our Q&A, so and maybe some of you are going to see you on your online Feminine Essence program, or somewhere in real, right? So, somewhere in Chicago, or you travel together with Freddie also the world to share your gifts and support us in reawakening, blossoming to ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for the space you create and provide for this transformation to spread.
Thank you very much.
With lots of love.
Lots of love. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow. Super. Danke.